Hey, industry explorers, what's up? I've got Jarrod with us, and we are here to talk about the wind turbine industry, how to start your career, what kind of education and certifications you may need to get started, and more. Jarrod, how are you today?
Doing wonderful. Thanks so much for having me. You got such an awesome intro to this thing, by the way. I love that graphic that starts everything off. That's so cool.
Thank you so much. We've got quite a few people tuning in with us right now, and I'm so excited. I hope you guys have brought your questions and you're ready to ask Jarrod live. So without further ado, we've got to start with the wind industry. Let's take it way back and look at it from an eagle-eyed perspective. Can you talk to us about the wind industry and just how it works?
Absolutely. As much as I am able to. It's obviously one of the younger industries as far as power generation goes. Renewables have been around for not super long. I would say 70s and 80s is kind of the inception of American wind energy as I know it. And again, that speaking as someone who's gained the knowledge on the industry and not someone who's studied it exclusively. I'm in Tehachapi, California, which is one of the birthplaces of American wind energy. And just driving over the pass, you can see a bunch of these super old wind turbines that were put up 60s, 70s, some of them just as kind of experimental stuff, to stuff from the 80s that's still running. And so we're still going strong, and it's expanded across the country. I'm originally from Kansas. That's where I got into the wind industry.
And nice.
Yeah.
So you're from Kansas and now you work in California. Where else is the wind industry big in the United States?
Anywhere there's not a lot of stuff, the wind industry is doing great. Any place there's great big open expanses and a lot of good wind profile, that's where the wind is really taken off, so to speak.
Some places in Texas and Iowa.
Absolutely. The plain states are fantastic for it because you can put stuff up in a farmer's field, throw them some kickback from that, and they are happy to have their cows grazing under something.
So you mentioned that there's turbines from like the early 80s still in service?
They're still doing great. There's obviously there's been some real hits and misses as the energy industry grows. Some of the turbines were just absolute trash when they first started. Those are no longer running, but some of the good ones that have really taken off are still really going well there. And we've learned and grown from them to the ones that you see currently, like the ones in the background here, the huge big white ones that you see. Those are the ones that are really taking off and doing most of the big heavy lifting around the US and the world today.
So I imagine that you're either doing a lot of work replacing old turbines or you're servicing old and new ones, keeping up with the maintenance, doing any kind of repair. Can you talk to us about the different careers in wind?
Absolutely. One of my favorite ways I've heard it described is if you were going to buy a new car. So let's say a company that's like an energy company. I worked for BP at one point, British Petroleum. They want to start a wind farm. They go out and they do all their magic to secure their location, their financing, everything like that. And then they start shopping around the different suppliers. Like if you were to shop at, Toyota, Ford, GMC, you then pick out your favorite. What's the turbine model that's going to have the best deals? What's the one that's going to follow your fulfill your needs best based off your terrain, your wind profile? And then they get sold that. And so the next step is the people that actually go to and install them. General construction, specialized construction, people actually putting the wind turbines up. Next phase would be commissioning. And those are the people that go into a freshly constructed wind turbine, run it through an absolute checklist to make sure that everything is going to be 100% correct, everything torqued, all the wiring correct, and then they fire it up for the first time. And then after that, you get into what a lot of the people end up working with, which is the warranty phase. So if you got a new car, it would come with a 5-year bumper-to-bumper warranty where it covers all of your scheduled maintenances, all of your unscheduled, unplanned catastrophes, for lack of a better word. And that's for the most part what people would do. So you would take it to a Ford dealership if you had a Ford truck. I worked for GE, so a GE team would be on site for 5-10 years based on what the initial warranty is, replacing, repairing, maintaining, making sure everything is running at tip-top shape. After that time, you would have the chance to re-up your warranty just like on a car, or you'd be like, I can take care of this myself. Some of these people that own these wind farms will have their own team that can take care of something, or they can hire out a team of contractors that would take care of it for them. So there's plenty of jobs in the people that are maintaining, purchasing, setting up, people that come in and do with the catastrophic failures, let's say like a gearbox or generator replacement, something like that. And then just the general maintenance, your blade technicians, your people that even clean the towers. That's a big industry right now. So all through the line, there is quite a bit to do. And so there's quite a good number of jobs.
A ton of careers and a ton of opportunities in wind. We got a question that came in real quick. Before we get to your question, Matthew, I just want to ask Jarrod to describe his role as a wind field service technician.
So when you're a wind field service technician, your day usually starts, show up at the site, see what has gone on overnight at the site. So you've got, say you got 100 turbines at a site, and overnight, a couple of them have gone down on, they'll run their own safety checks to make sure all the emergency systems are running correctly. If there's something that's not 100%, they'll shut themselves down as a preventative thing. You got to go up and see what's going on with it, just to make sure that it's running 100% correct. Hey, maybe this gearbox is running a little bit hot. Maybe this this wind speed is reading erratically. For whatever reason, they'll send out warnings and alarms that they're not functioning 100%. You go up, load out, drive to the tower, climb the tower, figure out exactly what's wrong with it, and repair it. The other thing would be if everything's going well, they have a scheduled maintenance interval about once every 6 months. Go there, check the oil, check the torques of everything, make sure everything's greased up and within spec, and just make sure that they're running as efficiently as they possibly can.
So is it that you're doing a combination of electrical and mechanical work as well as run-of-the-mill maintenance work in addition to repairs?
Absolutely. I would say that there's kind of two different ways to go into. If you're more of on the troubleshooting side of things, that's when something goes wrong, unplanned, you'd be more electrical, hydraulic, figuring out what's going on with these systems. The most powerful tool that we have anymore to work with these things is a laptop. They are able to be plugged in and kind of give you a warning and follow the check engine light that lets you know exactly what's going on with it, as well as the turbine knows. And then you get up there and figure it out more and more. But then when it gets into maintenance and general wrench turning, yeah, you're simply a mechanic for the most part up there. And it's a good combo of both. It's a lot of fun.
So is there like a fine line where at some point as a wind field service technician, is there like a line where a job is out of the scope of what you're capable of doing, so then you have to call in a specialist of some sort?
Absolutely.
What are some of those specialist type careers?
So one that I think you might be really interested in is blade repair. So the blades are usually made of carbon fiber or fiberglass, and just because of the incredible loads and stress that they're put under, sometimes there can be cracks, delamination, something like that. The rope access crews, they're a lot of fun to watch because those are the people that go up over the front of the thing, tie off, go down, do fiberglass repair down the outside and sometimes on the inside of those blades. And it's high risk work. They take a lot of safety precautions, but if you're a thrill junkie and you like your knots and your climbing, then I think that's probably one of the interesting ones to get into.
See, you have been watching our previous live streams because we did talk to a rope access technician and an entertainment rigger, and you already know me so well, Jarrod. You know I've got an affinity for pain and hard work and ropes.
There you go.
Are we talking about BDSM or are we talking about rope access?
Who's to say?
Rope access.
The fiberglass is very itchy on both.
Oh, yeah. All right. So let's get to Matthew's question because he asked a really good one very, very early on in this live stream. Matthew asks, what changes do you foresee in the wind turbine form factor? Are they evolving?
That's interesting. Hey, Matt, I know this guy. And I think for the most part, the general shape of the wind turbines, what you basically see, the big stick with 3 blades, and then the cell on top. That's main form. I don't think is going to be changing. They've found a lot of different ways to mess with them and to mess with them. That's not the engineering way to say it. But as far as the form goes, I think we've about figured out this is the most efficient way to put them up. So it's the three blades catch the wind the best. They're able to turn into the wind better. There are some really cool experimental ones coming out that I've always enjoyed. One of them is it's like a kite with a wind turbine on it that can go super high up and like on a balloon type of thing, catch the crazy high winds up there and then transfer power down the line. Haven't seen a lot of those taken off right now, but I mean, if that's the way the future's going, that'd be pretty cool. I lost your audio. I'm worried. Yeah. Sorry, I got to hold you up. I've lost your audio. I just want to make sure.
I made a really funny joke. Okay. Sorry about that, man.
Okay.
So I was saying that in the Tower Climbing Grease Monkeys Facebook group, I saw someone post a photo of a bladeless turbine, which I'm pretty sure is a joke. But my counter joke to it is, ooh, Dyson is really getting in on this wind turbine business. You know, Dyson's got the bladeless fans and the bladeless hair dryers, or the, you know, yeah.
it's a crazy looking thing. I think that might actually be something that's doable. I have no idea how the Dyson fan works.
I'm no engineer, but if that's how the form of a wind turbine changes, wow, what a future. That'd be very interesting. But again, I'm no engineer. Caleb says, I can't wait to get my rope access level 1. Yeah. I hope you do. I can't wait till you do, Caleb. And until then, you should check out our previous live stream with Mikey Stevenson, who is the host of the Rope Access and Climbing podcast. You should check out his stuff. Levi asks, what kind of ratios are we seeing in the repower side as far as efficiency upgrades and equipment replaced?
Love this question, because one of the things that made me sad when I first got into the industry is learning that the life expectancy age of a wind turbine they put up is 20 years. And initially that seems like a long time, but I mean, we're starting to hit 20 years on some of these. And so what happens afterward? They just get taken down? Well, the companies I've been working with have found ways to kind of go in and revamp, pull out the guts, put in a better converter on the bottom level, even put in more efficient blades, more efficient powertrain, and be able to use these existing structures for 30, 40, 50 years down the road. And so I'm really excited to see what keeps going with these, because they found ways to, basically to reduce, reuse, recycle, make clean energy even cleaner.
So what I'm gathering from some of these really awesome and advanced level questions is that, you know, there is like the service and maintenance side of the wind industry, but there's also the engineering side. So if you are someone who wants to pursue engineering, in fact, that should be a future live stream, as we actually look into the engineering side of the wind turbine industry, because I would like to know what engineering degree exactly do you pursue? Do you pursue mechanical, aerodynamic? I'm not quite sure.
Who gets,
Look it up, guys.
So that'd be a good future one, I think.
I agree. I really agree. Francisco said, Jarrod Tiede rocks.
Hey,
thanks, Francisco. That's awesome.
As you can tell, I've been kind of salting the mind by putting a lot of my putting some plants in here to boost me up. So thanks.
Everybody. I love it. So let's ask this question, and then I want to move on to how to get started as a wind turbine technician. Caleb asks, what do you think of the new turbines that GE is coming out with, the giant ones that are supposed to be as tall as 800 feet?
Those are awesome. So I've been able to do a virtual tour on some of those with some people that I know that have been able to get in, get some good pictures. And the size of these things is mind-blowing. The blade on a single one of these new turbines is the height of the entire turbine tower of a current model. They have to be modularly assembled in 2 pieces. These things are engineering powerhouses. It's incredible. One of those turbines can have the same output as 30 to 50 of these old 90s model turbines. It's insane. I can't wait to see them be put out there. Also kind of can't wait to see what the challenges that come along with something that's this big, just as a technician. I mean, just working on this behemoth, I'd be interested to see going forward, but that's going to be the future. I'm happy to see it.
So do you think climbing assists are going to be more prevalent and more accepted if we're going to have to be climbing 800 feet to get to the gearbox?
So when I got into Wind, I actually got into it I think at a really interesting level to where the towers were tall enough that it was difficult to climb, but not so tall that it was required that they had to have a lift or a climb assist. Luckily, most of the towers I worked in did have a climb assist. However, that was some pretty, the term for wind turbines was industrial athletes. Because had to do quite a bit of exercise before you even started your work for the day. However, I think anything going forward, in order to have a good, fresh technician by the time they get up, everything that's being designed either has a climb assist, a little powered elevator, or a full-on telephone booth-sized lift on the inside. Yep, wow. Elevators. By the way, I have been in a couple of those. Do not like them. They are, as a tall person, I'm very claustrophobic inside these things. So, and also I kind of got into Wind for the climbing aspect of it. I'm a little sad that that's going away, but
I do want to ask you about the fitness aspect and the health aspect of being a wind field service technician, but this is the Start Your Career series. So let's talk about some education and certifications that are required in order to get started in this industry. What do you recommend for somebody who wants to get into wind, but they're not quite sure how?
Well, let me tell you what I did to get into it that I do not recommend. I got in at a night school that was not, they just kind of put up a big thing, says, get your wind turbine certification. Well, the certifications they had weren't universally recognized. They were just kind of whatever the university would come up with. I didn't do enough research, and I didn't really cross all my T's and dot my I's on that one. What you want to look for if you're getting into it, if you're looking for a school, is an AWEA certified school. It's American Association of Wind Energy. They're peppered all throughout the US and the world. Well, I guess not in the world, but they are the ones that you're going to be looking for to give you the best, most relevant, and most industry accepted training. On top of that, any sort of certification, there is a, oh, doggone it, I'm going to forget the acronym for it. I think it might be GWO, Global Wind Organization. They have a set of their certifications that are recognized by all the big companies, GE, Siemens, Gamesa, Vestas, everything like that. Do your research before you end up going to school and taking out a student loan that you might still be paying off.
Did you say it was an AWAE certification or accredited school?
Accredited, sorry. An AWEA accredited school, and I believe it's GWO certifications. I'd have to look to be sure. There's so many acronyms in this job that they do start to run together as well. However, the way I ended up getting in was one of my old shop teachers from my high school in super rural Kansas ended up starting one of the first AWEA accredited schools. And so I was able to kind of talk with him and get some industry hookups through there. And then from there, I was able to start at the very bottom. So it was nice.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I will also say, sorry, just real quick, that the certifications, the education, not entirely necessary. If you want to get in, some of these companies are hiring at the very entry-level positions, World Wind and Solar, Sky Climbers, places like this. They will be, they'll kind of give you on-the-job teaching, training, and certification. So it's not necessary. It does give you a leg up.
Yeah, definitely. You know, when in talking about like entertainment rigging, there's no like college education required. There's no certifications that are required to get started. But if you already have certain kinds of training, then it definitely makes you more marketable. It definitely gives you a leg up. And thank you so much, Stephen, for adding this to our little ticker on the bottom. AWAE accredited school, GWO certifications, the American Clean Power Association, on-the-job training. And if you want to get on-the-job training, how do you do that? Where what companies should you be applying for? Who's got the jobs?
Who's got the jobs? Well, like you
Who's
mentioned,
got the jobs?
who's got the jobs? One of the Facebook groups that you mentioned earlier, Tower Climbing Grease Monkeys, actually have a lot of recruiters come through and post in. One of the first questions you see a lot of people post in there, hey, I'm just out of high school or somewhere, I'm looking to change careers. How do I get into this? And most everyone will say, get in at one of those entry-level companies. Sky Climbers offered me something first. Whirlwind and Solar, they're based out of here in Tehachapi. I've really enjoyed working with those people. They're, from what I've seen, they are able to take somebody just kind of fresh off of whatever background they have and are able to turn them into a wind turbine technician. That's one of the things I really enjoy about this company, about this whole wind industry, is the different backgrounds that you get with people. I started off in TV news before I got into wind. One of my favorite coworkers was a wedding DJ before he got into it. We also had a Franciscan monk who had just taken a 5-year vow of silence and decided not to be a monk after that, and then went right into being a wind turbine technician. One of the most talkative people I've ever met. And you can come in from about any background, and as long as you're willing to learn, willing to train safely, these companies will, they'll make a tech out of you. Yeah, check out that Tower Climbing Grease Monkeys page. There's some real psychopaths in there, obviously, as there are.
I was sorry. I was a little late. I was like typing as fast as I could, trying to add the on-the-job training and checking out the Tower Climbing Grease Monkeys page. Definitely great resources.
Wind turbine technicians. I will say it is a little bit harder to get started at just like the big companies. I've got a drafts folder in my email that I've got, I think, 170 applications that I put in through Vestas, Siemens Gamesa, GE, that just thank you for applying and never heard anything back. So
wow.
But if you start at the little ones that are a little hungrier and trying to get more people on, and they'll get you taken care of. Field Corps is another good one.
Gotcha. So I just want to, I'm thinking, what if, all right, let's say I'm someone who's got zero experience in wind, but I may have experience in another career field. What are some of the career fields that are going to help make me a good wind turbine technician?
Automotive. Some of the best techs I've ever worked with come from automotive, mainly because it's mechanical, electrical, troubleshooting, maintenance, basically everything where you learn how to turn a wrench, turn a screwdriver, use a ratchet, use a torque wrench, something like that. That's one of the best ways to get started. A lot of people that come out of the armed forces that have been mechanics on, a lot of people have told me being a helicopter or an airplane mechanic is kind of a one-to-one transfer onto being a wind turbine technician as well. So anything like that, if you're looking to get into it and you have a car and you're not doing your own maintenance stuff on your car, that's a decent way to start. That's one of the reasons I got interested. I got an old truck that needed a lot of work that I couldn't afford to do, had never really turned a wrench before. Got YouTube and Harbor Freight and learned that I really enjoy doing mechanical stuff. So that's one of the ways I got into it. So
that actually does remind me a little bit of the entertainment industry when we've got stage technicians who have to know how to troubleshoot mechanical and electrical issues. And, they're constantly of the mindset of like, all right, what's the issue? How do I fix it? Let me do process of elimination. Let me do this in a really strict timeline to get this show literally on the road. So, hey, that's for my stagehands out there. If you guys are interested in getting into wind, you guys have those skills. But I love that you mentioned the automotive mechanics as well.
Yeah, they've been fantastic. Actually, it's a brief detour. I actually got into a little bit of entertainment rigging, which I thought would give me a bit of a heads up into getting into the wind industry. There's a lot of crossover. There's wearing your full body harness, your 100% tie off, a lot of electrical stuff to work on. And
that's great. That's great to bring up too, because yeah, if you have any at height experience, any work at height experience or experience with fall protection, whether you're working in construction or anything else, like, yeah, that's great experience to put on your resume if you're trying to get a job in wind.
You got to be a certain type of psycho to be up there, to be comfortable with work at heights, and also great at not dropping stuff. That's huge.
Yeah, this is a perfect comment for that. Climbing is sadism, and sadists need hobbies. So I feel like psychopath is a fine line when it comes to people who climb for a living.
We say psychopath lovingly. We are we have to say it lovingly because those people are psychopaths. So if you don't say it lovingly, you might be.
Yes. Here's a great question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Here's a great question from Levi. He asked, how do we improve the career expectancy of a wind technician? Great question.
Can you describe career expectancy? That's not a term I've heard before.
I'm going to guess that he means turnover, like job turnover. How do we get people to stay at their jobs longer? Or at least how can we expect the turnover rate? If I'm interpreting this question wrong, feel free to rewrite your question and we'll answer it. But I think he's talking about like turnover rate. Gotcha.
So someone staying at like how long you would stay in, how viable is it to stay in this thing for 20, 30 years? A couple field techs I've worked with have their 30, 35 year certifications being with this company. It's amazing. Best thing I would say is, for a personal reason, take care of your body. One of the big things, it's an incredibly labor intensive job at times. Don't be afraid to stretch. There's a lot of machismo around. We usually do a stretch and flex kind of beforehand, warm up the body before you're doing a pretty intense job and climb and workout basically. And there's a bunch of people that don't want to do yoga because that's for ladies. And those guys groan and pop quite a bit when they're bending over to pick something up. So
okay. On that note, I will share that as a rescue instructor, when we're talking about suspension trauma mitigation and we're teaching like different ways to, if you have trauma straps, here's how you connect them, step into the loop, mitigate your trauma. If that's not handy for whatever reason, here's how you use your work positioner to accomplish the same thing. And sometimes we get students who struggle to get their feet up and into the loop to bend their legs so that they're not, just hanging from their dorsal D-ring. So, I also highly encourage yoga. I highly encourage anybody with a labor intensive job to take care of your bodies. So, and I think that is a responsibility from the individual level as well as in the more corporate level and the management level, because I think
absolutely
that if corporations in the upper management level, like if you're wanting to increase retention, incorporate like a health and wellness program into your company, right? Encouraging people to have a healthy lifestyle, encouraging people to have proper nutrition and stay hydrated.
Absolutely.
Even if you've got to carry an empty water bottle up the tower with you, but also I think, from that level, not running people into the ground when you're scheduling them.
A lot of our companies are beginning to really focus on work-life balance. That's a big thing. It's actually, I've been guilty of going the other way with it, coming from jobs that are making $11, $12 an hour to getting into wind, which has been fantastic as far as it's the highest paying job I've ever had. Getting into that and then getting into sites that will allow you basically as much overtime as you can take. I've worked some real crazy hours that have put untold stress on my body and my relationships. So having lately I've seen a lot of the corporate stuff that is really encouraging a nice work-life balance, which is huge. We worked at sites that were so crazy that we would have other technicians from other sites that ran normally come help us on the weekends, and guys would talk about coaching their little league teams. And we'd be like, I can't believe you have the time to have children, let alone coach their teams. But I think most places are trying to be a lot healthier about that now.
Yeah. And I love seeing that trend. I absolutely love seeing this trend. Thanks, Neil. Yeah, Wind Tech Yogis. Absolutely. I celebrate that for sure. Ryan, 49ers, Jerry Rice used to take ballet lessons. I didn't know that, but thank you for that fun fact.
Be a dancer. I bet dancers would make good wind technicians. You got to know how to, you have to, spatial recognition of your body is a huge thing. I've hit my head on stuff quite a bit.
So one of my co-instructors, one of my co-rescue instructors actually used to be an artist, a performing arts type artist. She was an aerialist and a comedy performer. So when she's teaching, I mean, she's very strong and very agile and super like very spatially aware and coordinated. So yeah, absolutely. Those are good hobbies to have, guys.
Also, I'd love to see Jerry Rice actually taking those lessons. I'd love to see Swan Lake with Jerry Rice.
That'd be hilarious. Here's another great question from Mark. He says, a company I work for uses CX Alloy to do all of its commissioning and inspections. What software is used in the wind industry?
Don't know anything about CX Alloy. However, as far as software, most wind turbines that you're going to see are going to have their proprietary operating systems, where the one I know for GE is SCADA, which stands for Supervisory Controls and Data Acquisition. Oh, I nailed that acronym. Yes, and it's basically everyone's going to have their own proprietary stuff that lets you know kind of your dashboard of what your turbine is, what the output of the whole park is, what is going on with each individual turbine, what is happening at the macro level, what is happening at the micro level, your deep dive software stuff. So I'd say you become fairly familiar with 3 to 4 very specific and proprietary software programs that I'm being a little bit self-preservationist here. I don't know if I'm at liberty to say just because it's a proprietary.
That's all A-okay.
Thing, but yeah, it's something you definitely will be learning if you have some sort of computer acumen when you come in. Even if it's just, if you can make a Facebook profile, for the most part, you can get into solving a wind turbine issue. So they made it a lot easier.
What's one of your favorite tools as a wind field service technician?
I have it's a little box. It's a little Staw-Willy 1/4-inch ratchet set. And it's about the size of a small box of chocolates. And inside of that thing, you can do 80% of all turbine repairs. And it's my favorite little workhorse. I would say that's my favorite. My favorite personal tool that I purchased for it is a DeWalt impact wrench. Those things are fantastic.
Nice. I bet, does that get loud?
Oh man, one of the big things. So noise protection. In my little picture on here, you can see that I've got my little earplugs in. One thing I realized, I've always used to be someone who loved to work in a super quiet environment. That's not super available when you're working in wind turbines. And so I became very used to just loud noises and pounding on stuff and, just being in a loud environment in general. And then I would come home and I would be in that same kind of thing, just like loading and unloading the dishwasher, or vacuuming, and my wife every day would be like, "Are you okay? Are you mad?" I'm like, no, this is just the energy that I just came in like screaming every day just because it was the noise that I was used to at the time. So
nice. Here's another great question from Ryan. What technology do you foresee or would like to see in the future for industrial climbing?
So Climb Assist has become one of my favorite little things. If you don't know about it, so basically there's a ladder that goes, you probably know this already. It's a ladder that goes from the bottom of the wind turbine to the top, usually roughly 300 feet. And what they have is something like it's a little springy pulley that kind of you hook onto it, and it helps drag you up like you're a piece of dry cleaning. It doesn't take all the weight off, but it takes off a good 120 pounds, and you can climb up a lot easier. Well, the newer ones are like a little track that goes up the middle of the tower, and then it's got a little platform in the middle that you would step on. You put both your boots on that, and it would just kind of scoot you up like you're like a grain elevator almost. Those are the newest ones that I've seen, and those are the ones I really like. Again, I've talked about elevators. I don't like riding an elevator. They're too slow. They're too small. They take too long.
Yeah.
I don't know. What would I love See, I would love to see something. I would love to see like the Batman grapple gun that would just take you in from the outside. I don't think OSHA's going to allow that, but that's what I see when I close my eyes. That's what I picture.
I'm really trying to imagine that one right now. That is certainly the most. Now, is instead of like getting a work order, would you just get a bat signal at the turbine you're supposed to maintenance?
They would just project it onto the blades as they spin, and you would just see it. It's like, you gotta change the oil filter.
Oh, like those LED lights where like it spins really fast and it's just the LED dots, but when it spins fast enough, it's actually got messages or pictures.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would work if turbines, if they spun that fast.
If they spin that fast, the big ones spin that fast, leave because something's going wrong.
Yeah. So how do if you're already established in this industry, what's a good way to level up?
So most, especially in the field service side, most of them are going to have levels, different levels, level 1, 2, and 3, based off of your experience. And there are general testing procedures to make in place to make sure that you are advanced enough to move up based on your experience, your ability to tackle more and more difficult problems, to lead teams, to work on your own. So that's a good way to move up within the service kind of branch of it. However, there's so many other jobs on the outside, just kind of tangentially related to it. One of my good buddies became a heavy equipment repair specialist. They basically go up and do gearboxes and do generators. You could be one of the people that you don't want to climb. The guys that run the cranes make quite a bit of money if you want to be one of those guys. From there, you can move into management. They always need site leads to wrangle all the grease monkeys up into their own jobs. Site managers that kind of deal with interface between the customer and the workers. From there up, hey, you could be CEO. Who knows? You could make your own company. But there's a lot of movements just within being a technician. And then, again, a lot of them also encourage your own working up education as well. There's a lot of tuition reimbursements and a lot of in-house training. They encourage a lot of people to move up to maybe you could end up being an engineer. We don't have a lot of engineers that start on the turbine level and then move into engineering. Most of them start from an engineering degree and then work into turbines. So it'd be neat to see someone coming from that side. I think you get a lot of good out of that.
That would be really neat to see, especially since you often hear of like a joke between mechanics and engineers that, the engineers didn't quite design something and configure it in a way where you can actually reach to fix something.
Absolutely.
That's just like it's a common joke between mechanics and engineers. So yeah, I mean, that would certainly be really helpful, is to start on the ground or in the turbine and then work your way up to engineering, because you've been there, you've seen it, you know exactly what kind of improvements to make, which is one of the awesome questions that one of our audience members asked earlier today. Let me scroll and see who asked that.
That is something I'd love to see on tower climbing grease monkeys as well. If you guys can show the part of your turbine that is the least most designed by an engineer and not a technician. I would love to see that.
I love
what part that you cannot physically get a wrench into that you're supposed to wrench out. Someplace like that. I'd love to see those.
Right. I always hate when I'm in a situation where like my hand has to go through some grating or in between beams and I have to like do this weird thing like this and then start wrenching. Sorry,
there's a spot on our turbine where you have to crawl on the belly of the nacelle, between the belly, the fiberglass belly, and the decking, which is about yay much. I mean, you can feel it. If you breathe in too much, you can feel your front and back touch 300 feet in the air. It's one of the scariest things to crawl your way through and clear grease off of a little sensor that sometimes gets grease on it. And it's better designed now, but 5-10 years ago, that was what the small guy had to do.
Yeah. Here's I love this comment: certified Spider-Man web shooting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be so perfect.
Spider-Man was
always to never meet an engineer of John Deere tractors.
Yes.
I love when Ryan tunes in. He's got the funniest comments.
I always wanted to be Spider-Man, but I grew up in rural Kansas and there is not anything to swing off of. So Right.
The turbines.
Now there's turbines. There you go. That's the next Spider-Verse.
So can I ask, what are some considerations when it comes to safety or when it comes to rescue?
Great question. One of the big safety is it is utmost at all times. Working around not only heights, which is one of your main things, but also high voltage, pinch points, rotation, high pressure, hydraulics. Safety is something that, I mean, that's what you start the day on. That's what you end the day on. You start your day in your safety meeting. You have your safety paperwork, so you're able to consider all the hazards before you go up. Safety, I mean, it's absolutely the number one thing that you have to think about when you're doing this thing. It can be easy to get complacent, and complacency is a killer. So it's really driven home that you need to focus on all the safety considerations of your job. All of our rescue stuff has been practiced so much that it's impossible to get it wrong. Knock on wood. Haven't really had to try it, but yeah. That's one of the big things I think for as far as career expectancy. I think one thing they're really doing right is stressing safety as number one, because an uninjured tech is a tech that's going to keep working.
Yep. So even when someone gets like any safety certification and then they're recertified 2 years later, in between that 2-year gap, at least for you and your crews, are you guys rehearsing those rescue techniques even before you have to get recertified?
We're rehearsing them annually. We're inspecting all of our gear weekly, if not obviously the daily cursory inspections. So yeah, every time it does kind of scare me. Every time we do the deep dive annual thing, there's always one little thing that I seem to have forgotten. Like, the rope needs to be rigged like this to make sure that that their knees are going to stay near their chest, all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, safety is, from all the people I've worked with, it's no joke. So it's really nice to see that people are taking it seriously.
Do you recommend people, or is it a requirement that people pursue an OSHA 10 or 30 certificate?
I got both my OSHA 10 and 30 before I got into wind, and it was superseded by a proprietary safety inspection. I think that might be different now. Again, I would check out the GWO standards. Something that's going to be universally carried in between. However, it is absolutely something I would recommend, something to look at beforehand. Right. Though I don't think a company will definitely trade you up on what they need before they let you actually get out in the field.
Gotcha. Well, as we wrap up today's live stream, I am so glad for everybody that tuned in. Make sure you check out Tiede at TiedleJ on Instagram. Yeah. What kind of industry insights can you leave some of our up and coming wind technicians?
It's constantly growing, and the people that end up doing the best in it are the ones that still are. It's a little pie in the sky, but it's always the people that are still amazed at the fact that renewable energy even exists. The fact that we are taking power from the sky and powering our homes and our lives with it. Never lose that's the kind of the wonder of the whole thing, for lack of a better term. Never forget why you're out there, because there's a lot of monotony. There's a lot of there can be a lot of long days and long hours, but at the end of the day, when you actually push a button and you see the thing going and you see clean energy getting put into your surrounding homes and communities, it's a great feeling.
Do you ever talk to people who aren't in your industry just to kind of reignite that sense of awe and that, oh yeah, I really do something amazing. I really am involved in an amazing industry.
I do. It happens quite a bit. My father-in-law, Alan, is one of my favorite people to always just kind of be like, I passed a wind turbine farm and I thought of you. I can't believe you get to go up there all the time. I'm like, I just can't believe it sometimes too.
That's so sweet. Well, Jarrod, it was such a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for all your valuable insight and for answering our audience questions. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe to Industry Explorers for more adventures. And until next time, Explorers, I'll see you on our next adventure. Take care, everyone.